On Christmas Eve, a night that we hoped would bring peace and celebration, chaos broke out in the capital. In today's video, we watch shocking footage of a Muslim mob destroying the festive spirit. Join us as we explore what happened and analyze the events that unfolded. Have a watch of this. The actions of Islamist motomobs causing chaos in central London on Christmas Eve are an alarming indicator of the complete collapse of law and order under Sadiq Khan's tenure as mayor. On a night meant for peace, reflection, and celebration, this deliberate and deafening display of disrespect was not just an affront to British traditions, but a stark reminder of how unchecked lawlessness has taken root in the capital. It was a direct insult to Londoners, who have every right to enjoy their city without fear of intimidation or disruption. Sadiq Khan's London is now synonymous with disorder and a lack of accountability, where those intent on causing mayhem feel emboldened to do so without consequence. This failure of leadership is nothing new. Time and again, Khan has prioritized virtue, signaling over tangible action to protect the people he claims to represent. His administration's obsession with appeasing fringe groups, rather than upholding public order, has turned London into a city where criminality thrives and law-abiding citizens feel increasingly abandoned. The broader implications of these events cannot be ignored. Such actions exacerbate already deepening divisions in an increasingly fragile multicultural society. They provide ammunition to critics who argue that the erosion of traditional British values and a lack of integration are fueling resentment. This chaotic display of intimidation is exactly the kind of incident that undermines trust and cooperation between communities, creating fertile ground for further polarization and extremism. Sadiq Khan's inability to address these issues reflects not only incompetence, but also a dangerous disregard for the very foundations of civil society. Rather than focusing on real solutions, Khan has squandered his leadership by championing superficial narratives of inclusivity while ignoring the growing disorder on London's streets. If he had invested as much effort into enforcing the rule of law as he does into political grandstanding, perhaps London wouldn't now be witnessing this level of chaos and public unrest. It's time for accountability. Sadiq Khan has failed to deliver on his most basic responsibility, ensuring the safety and security of the city's residents. Londoners deserve better than this ineffectual leadership. Authorities must act decisively, not only to punish those responsible for this shameful disruption, but also to send a clear message that such lawlessness will not be tolerated. The city cannot continue to be a playground for intimidation and chaos while its leaders stand idly by, distracted by their own political ambitions.
No civilized nation on earth would agree that depriving children of food and water is acceptable. I'm here because I'm a human being, and anyone with a conscience believes that a civilian population should never be punished in this way. It's collective punishment, it's a war crime, and unless we stop it, unless we get out there and say something, it's going to end up with thousands losing their lives.
Can you put into words how you feel about the loss of life on both sides?
Every life is precious, but the root of this violence is the occupation. It's not complicated. It's a settler colonial state imposing apartheid and oppression on an indigenous people. And that's wrong everywhere, for anybody. And it has to be true that all the Palestinians want is freedom. And we must support that in equal rights. And I stand up here, I'm so pleased to see so many of my brothers and sisters with big hearts who know the truth. And the Western media has a duty now to tell the truth about what's happening, because I'm seeing the worst horrors I could ever have imagined. I grew up in the shadow of the Holocaust, and we said never again, and that means never again for anyone. And I beg of anyone, if they have a conscience, get out there and speak and demand your leaders speak.
There seem to be, of course, deep divisions on either side, but you've come out today and you were telling me earlier that this is about being a human, a fellow human being.
I'm so thrilled to be here among my brothers and sisters who can see the truth, despite all the propaganda and the lies and the bias and the prejudice that we see in the Western media. It has been, quite frankly, an appalling week.
What would you like to see the UK government do now?
They must demand a ceasefire. They must demand that Israel stop bombing children and stop burying them under rubble. They must demand a humanitarian corridor so aid and medical supplies can get in. They must demand they have electricity. They must demand that there is food and water. This is an emergency now, a crisis, and people must rise to.
The recent rally in London in open support of Hamas is a damning indictment of the failed leadership of Sadiq Khan, a mayor who seems more invested in pandering to fringe ideologies than safeguarding the dignity and security of the city he governs. Khan's inability or unwillingness to confront such brazen displays of extremism on London streets raises serious questions about his priorities and his competence. Under his tenure, London has witnessed a growing culture of impunity, where radical elements feel emboldened to publicly support organizations like Hamas, a group widely recognized as a terrorist organization by numerous countries, including the UK. Sadiq Khan's leadership has allowed a concerning shift in London's societal fabric, with incidents such as the attack on the Indian embassy being swept under the rug and a rising tolerance for extremism creeping into public spaces. This reflects a broader trend of neglect under his watch, where identity politics and appeasement take precedence over enforcing the rule of law and maintaining public order. Londoners, who once took pride in their city's global reputation as a safe and inclusive metropolis, now face the grim reality of unchecked radicalism and deteriorating communal harmony. Furthermore, claims of an undeclared Sharia law in parts of London, while hyperbolic, stem from genuine concerns about the growing influence of radical ideologies that go unchallenged by local authorities. This lack of decisive action risks alienating law-abiding citizens and fostering resentment among communities who feel that the city's leadership prioritizes political correctness over their safety and well-being. It is baffling that Khan, as a public servant, has not taken firm action against such rallies and incidents that tarnish London's international standing. Instead, his administration's inaction has allowed the perception of lawlessness to grow. Comparisons between London and India, while controversial, underscore the frustration of those who see London's decline under Khan's governance. India, with its challenges, still projects a strong commitment to countering extremism and protecting its sovereignty, qualities that London under Khan appears to lack. Sadiq Khan's tenure has become a cautionary tale of what happens when leadership is driven by optics, rather than substance. His failure to address the rising tide of extremism, coupled with his dismissive attitude toward legitimate concerns, has left London in a state of moral and civic decay. The city deserves a leader who values law and order, respects its diverse communities, and prioritizes public safety over political grandstanding. Khan, however, has proven time and again that he is not that leader. Thank you for watching. If you have any thoughts or opinions, feel free to share them in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more updates, and join us on Telegram for exclusive content and discussions. Your support means a lot.